as well.
Right. Now, let me get the correct pronunciation of your name again.
Ag
Yes.
Rios.
Agrios. Got it. Oh, Agrios.
Yeah, no, there's no R. There's just like Texas Aggies.
Yeah. So, now where do you live?
In Jersey. Hello?
What part of New Jersey do you live in? I mean, New Jersey's a big state, man. You just said New Jersey.
I just moved to Jackson.
What's that?
Yeah, Jackson. In Jackson, New Jersey, by Great Adventure.
Okay.
But I grew up in Long Branch. That's where I'm from.
Duh.
Long Branch, Ocean Township. I practiced for years in Ocean Township.
Yeah.
105 on the Parkway.
Wow. So you were the author of a book called Life's One Law. Can you explain in the subtitles Nature's Blueprint for Repeatable Success in Life and Business? Can you explain a little bit about what that book is about?
Yes. About 30 years ago, I was looking at my life at, my goals. And I realized 10 years prior, I was in the same place that I was at that moment. And I was like, something's wrong here. I'm listening to the gurus. I'm listening to all the people. And I just can't get past this. So I went out to try to discover my own things. And basically what I found was that there are actually 6 seasons, not the 4 that we only know. There's 2 extra ones. And by looking at that, I realized how how Mother Nature came back from its storms. And I discovered that each season has a particular duty, one thing it's in charge of. And we have that same 6 steps in order to change our lives and can handle any business or personal problem. And then when I realized that, as I went through for 30 years with thousands of patients and clients, I was able to discover what we call the inborn sabotaging trait. It's inborn. We actually have a trait that sabotages us. You can't get rid of it. It's there. But it's not there to undermine us. It's there in order to protect us from the actual success that we seek. See, what happens is subconsciously, what we really want is more painful than where we're at. And that's why we don't get it. So our inborn sabotage trait is there to protect us from that pain.
Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting that you would say that. So what if a person is born into a family that is a success-conscious family? Do they still have that trait?
Yes, because no matter how successful you are, how many people you know that are successful that are really happy? Not that many, right? And the inborn sabotage trait is there in order for us to evolve. It brings all the challenges in our lives. Why do we have these adversities? It's because they're there in order to challenge us to evolve. Because if we didn't, we'd be talking about how bored we are because everything went well in our lives. So if you really think that we're here so that things go well, we're really here for the experience, right? And have that experience, it allows us to grow and evolve in that way. How many times have even in your own life and the people in your audience, how many times they have gone through some major things and came out feeling better, different, and stronger? And it was only due to that adversity that they were able to do that.
What about the lessons that you learned from adversity?
That's the part of it. So what happens is with the inborn sabotaging trait, and basically they can actually go onto my website and take a quiz to discover their own inborn sabotaging trait. And what I did was, when I discovered this, I remember sitting on my living room floor and realizing that this particular trait of mine caused all my different problems. So I went out to try to disprove it because it was too simple. And what I found was that there was an actual antidote to switch it off instantly. And over the years, I tried to disprove this with thousands of people, and I could not. So that's why the technique actually works 100% of the time. And we get tremendous results with people, whether or not they were having autoimmune disease, or they're in the business, or they're having problems at home. It allows you to really see how you can shift to really start healing on a whole level, and allow you to have the hope and know exactly what to do in order to get through those adversities.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Agrios, how important is it for a person to make a study of themselves? How important is that?
Very.
And is that valuable?
But unfortunately, it's too hard for many people, so that's why they go through drugs or cigarettes, or they overly work, or they do anything, binge watch Netflix, do anything that they have to do not to go through that, to see themselves, because it's painful. And a lot of people don't know what to do with it, so they do nothing.
So I know it's important to study myself, but I'm also studying this other person, right? That's very crazy. This person is crazy, and they already know I'm talking about them already. That's why they started laughing already. But they're crazy. Former professional basketball player. Former professional basketball player. Former correctional inmate. Totally insane, and built this studio that we're in right now. So I think that's an interesting study, to study this person, this crazy man. Can you speak to that, Dr. Agrios?
Talk to him, or talk about that, how he most likely was able to get the success he received.
Well, how did he pick? I mean, from coming from where he came from to be here today, like how could that happen? How could that happen?
It's real simple. The pain to stay where he is at was more painful. So therefore, he did whatever he had to do to get out of that pain, to go forward, and the success was there for him because he was most likely focused. He didn't allow anybody to tell him anything different, no matter how many times they thought he was crazy and all the other things. And he just continued to focus on his goal. He felt passionate about it, and he acted on it.
Yeah.
And what happens is that there's an old saying, right? Have do be, and be do have. Unsuccessful people go, once I have this, I will do what I need to do, and then I'll be happy. Successful people go, I'm already happy. I am happy. I am being happy at this moment. Therefore, I will do what happy people do, and therefore I will have what I want. It's the actual opposite.
He's brilliant, Rick.
Dr. Agrios, he says that you're brilliant. He says that you're brilliant. But see,
That's good.
There's something that he can identify with that you and I can identify with. You and I have never been in the big house. So that's a whole nother world in itself. He said focus.
Well, we're all in the big house. It's called a lousy marriage. It's called a lousy relationship with a business. It's called, sitting and being lonely. It's all people feeling imprisoned within themselves, and they don't know how to get out. And they don't know they actually have the key to unlock the door. And no one's really teaching them that.
That's sad
or
because
they don't want to listen to the people who want to teach them that.
That's sad because you got somebody like Robin Williams that's very successful, very talented, funny, makes people laugh, but he was in a lot of pain, and he went and he killed himself. That's insane.
Yeah, well, you get some chemical imbalances as well. That I tell people when I consult with them that there's a particular trait that I call the director saboteur, where they have not only a behavioral imbalance, they have a chemical imbalance. And how it is that these people can't really focus. They're all over the place. They start one thing, and then they don't finish it. They start another. They have like 15 things going on. They love chaos. And what I tell them is, I said, the difference between the behavior and the chemical is that if you're looking at, going, I really don't want to do this. I got to do this, but I really don't want to do that. That's behavioral. But if you're looking at something and you're going, I'm trying to read this, and I've read this paragraph 5 times, that's a chemical balance. There's not a connection happening. So there's two different situations going on. And that's where the difference, when people are having chemical imbalances and their friends and family are thinking it's behavioral and they're lazy, and it's really not.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Arios, I love quotes. And, some people might think, oh, those quotes are just words. They don't mean anything. But I think quotes are powerful. Here's a quote that really touched me in a special way. The guy said, "Stand guard at the door of your mind." When you hear that quote, Dr. Arios, what becomes present for you?
It tells the person to watch what comes into their world. What do they want to view as truth or non-truth? What works for them and doesn't work for them? So if someone is demeaning you, if you say yes to that, and I tell people, if you really say yes to that and let that person to affect you, then you really believe that to yourself. See, what happens is people all around in your world is you. They're there to show you a part of you that you're not dealing with. And when you deal with that part of yourself, two things happen. Those people change or they leave. I see it every day with my clients. And being guarding to your own thoughts is how you are going to direct and view your identity of who you are. Do you feel yourself as the victim or the victor? If you're the victim, then that is going to work for you at that moment until you finally say, this no longer works for me. Being a victor and taking control of my own life is what really is going to work for me. And that's what that major quote is that you have total control of what comes into your life. And do you look at it as truth or false? And even though it may be false, if you think it's true, then it's true.
Mm-hmm. Now, you are very successful, doctor, businessman, very successful. I don't know how old you are, but is there a certain point in your life when you stop learning, or do you still humble yourself to say, you know what, there's still lessons for me to learn? It's not that I know everything. Because I notice that a lot of people seem to, when they get a certain age, it's like they know so much and they're not willing to learn anymore. They shut it down. How do you feel about that, Dr. Arios?
Well, the person who thinks he knows everything knows nothing. And when you get to a point where you think you know everything, to me, you're just bored with your life and you want nothing to do with it. So look for something else that excites you, that creates that burning desire, that passion within yourself. And from there, going forward with that allows you to now spark that and now become more thirsty for more knowledge. And that's where I see people get stuck when they feel that way.
Well, here we are, 2020, the very beginning of 2020. A lot of people usually, when the year begins, they're excited, they're optimistic about all the things they want to do. What do you see for 2020, for the year 1920 moving forward? What do you see, Dr. Arios, for yourself and just for the world as a whole?
The world is changing right now. The world is really understanding. You can see it with people with their health changing and telling people, the companies that they don't want really chemicals anymore. Companies are shifting into more natural ways, but people just want more change. But we're more of this. With America, we're very divided. And we're going to the extremes, and we have to find a commonality between each other and allow each other to agree to disagree. And when you get to that much of a bipolar society, something's going to snap one day. And that snap may be a major adversity, but it's going to heal at the same time. So with myself, going out and really becoming more international. I do some international speaking now, but I'm going to be doing more of it to myself to really expand to helping more and more people to understand what I've done, increasing my online courses, my books, my one-on-one mentoring programs that I work with business owners, and I actually guarantee my results. So I think that 2020, a whole new decade, creates a whole new energy. And I think people will you'll start seeing a shift more in the natural aspect of it and getting away from the old, this is what you need to do instead of you deciding on your own what's best for yourself.
Dr. Arios, do you mind if I share one of my goals for 2020 with you? Do you mind?
I would be honored.
Okay. One of my goals, visions for 2020 is to conduct 50 motivational speaking workshops in the year of 2020. What do you think about that, Dr. Arios?
Oh, that's awesome. That's excellent. You're increasing your own identity. You're expanding to what you really want, and that's going to help so many more people because you have such a powerful message, and you can just hear it in your voice how much you care.
Well, there's another part to that, though. The other part is that the places that I'm thinking about speaking, it could be rooftops, alleyways, basements, highways, byways, on the corner, wherever. I'm looking to give a motivational presentation. That's the plan right now. It doesn't have to be in a fancy hotel. If that happens, that happens too. But byways, highways. So how do you feel about that?
That's what your passion is. You do what you need to do to get to the masses. And I think that people will be open to it, depending. Some people won't. They'll think you're nuts. But I think it doesn't matter what those people think because they're just protecting themselves. But if you continue moving forward and you're passionate about it, you will change the people that are willing to listen. And I commend you for that. That's fantastic.
Wow, I'm honored that you said that some people think I'm nuts because we usually play a video called The Crazy Ones. My engineer, Doug, he'll play the video called The Crazy Ones, and all the ones that really made major achievements in life were considered crazy. So I'm honored that you would say that, Dr. Arios.
Crazy just means different. Crazy means we're thinking outside the box. And when I discovered this years ago, people thought I was out of my mind. And now they're really seeing the cohesiveness that I've created and discovered of something so simplistic. And I was honored by a coach who was I did my workshop for a business, and there was a coach there that was about 25 years of coaching, and he said, this is one of the most simplest things I've ever seen, and I've never seen anything like this in my 25 years. So I know that my goal is to help 1 billion people. That's my goal before I die. You have to be crazy to even think of it. So I'm with you. So let's be crazy together.
Right. So right now I'm wearing a cap that says PMA.
The rebels.
Right? The cap says PMA, and that stands for Positive Mental Attitude. Dr. Arios, when you hear that term PMA, Positive Mental Attitude, what becomes present for you?
Two things. Positive mental attitude is having the ability to see differently than everybody else, to stay and focus that no matter what happens to you, it's a benefit. Because everything in life is dichotomous, which means you're up, down, in, out. There's always an opposite. So as much as something is detrimental, it is just as much beneficial to you. Which side of the coin do you want to really look at? And it's the benefit that the positive mental attitude allows. However, it can be also a detriment to people because they're looking at positive and they go, I'm being positive, but they're only being positive for a short period of time throughout the day, and then they're miserable, and they wonder why they're continually staying in the miserable vibration. It's becoming more positive and more seeking of becoming grateful for what you have, and when you're grateful for what you have, you create more. But when you have that adversity, you may go, well, why did that happen? I'm trying to be positive, but you're not seeing that the gift in that adversity is what's caused you to bring that to you so that you can really confirm your positive and go to where you really want to be and to achieve your goals.
Mm-hmm. Now, what has been your biggest challenge since writing this book, and since started partaking in this work that you're doing? What has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge was because of my own inborn sabotaging trait. And I've worked hard on it for years, which is called the director saboteur. It's, getting scattered and going here and there. And it was basically my biggest challenge was marketing and being consistent with it. But what's great is I meditate every morning for like 40 minutes. And what has happened is within that 2 months of focusing on creating someone that will help me with that, just hired somebody yesterday that's going to be phenomenal, who is a great director, who's done this before. And that was my key area. So if you really want something, just focus, be present at it, feel as if it has already occurred. One of the things that people don't realize is that it's called act as if. If you want to have a certain amount of money, or if you want to have a particular job, or you want a particular person in your life, how would that make you feel? And how would that look? And what would you do if you had that in your life? And that's where you have to be almost every moment, that you already have it. And when you have the thought and be clear on it, and you feel good about it, and you're passionate about it, and you act on it, it will then come. That's how it is. That's law. I see that consistently in my own life, and I see with my clients and everybody who does it.
Wow, it's funny that you mentioned that you hiring someone to come in and help you improve yourself. What would you say to a person that might not have that extra cash flow where they can invest in a coach, a trainer, or someone that can help them improve their lives? What would you say to someone like that?
That they can't afford it to do that?
Yeah, they might not have the extra money to get a coach, trainer.
Well, it's called a library. If they don't have the money to even buy a book at Barnes & Noble or online, it's called a library. Go to the library, get a book, find one book that is going to change your life. I have a client about a week ago. I did a guided imagery on him, and I was wondering, he didn't know his why he wrote his book, and through the guided imagery was able to find that he realized he forgot all about it. He was dead broke, and he was told to go to the library in his head. So he went to the library, and on the shelf was his book about real estate. And he took the book and he opened it up, and there was this sentence that grabbed him, and he actually stole the book. And later
from the library,
to the library. But he took the book. I'm not telling anybody to steal it, but he took the book, and that book changed his life. And the why he realized was that he wrote his book in order to have the same impact of other people who were in a devastated state. So I'm telling you, is to start with a book and take it and focus on it. If you don't have anybody supporting you, don't tell anybody your goal. Just talk to yourself. If you have a higher power, talk to your higher power. If not, just keep it to yourself and act on it. But it's always there. And sometimes people who are successful may help somebody for free. They may create a mentorship or find an internship or go to a person and say, I'll work for free for you. I just want to learn what you do. There are thousands of stories like that.
Wow, that's interesting. So it's funny that you say that because, a lot of people, want to be successful. And one of the things that they say is surround yourself with winners. What if you're in an area where there are no winners in your area? So then that's when you would go to the library. Is that correct? And make friends with those books.
Right. You've heard of the book Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, sure. Napoleon Hill, of course.
Well, he was not paid for that by
Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, Carnegie. I'm so blank for a second.
Yeah.
He went out and he interviewed all those successful people, and in the meantime became successful himself. You must look around the 5 friends around you. If they're not successful, that's why you're not successful, because they're just showing your own unsuccessfulness. You've got to hang around people. If not, then you've got to see and close your eyes as if you are with people. Your mind does not know the difference between fake and real. Right? So you have to look at it and see it. I know it
Here's to the
sounds
crazy
but I'm
ones.
telling you, that's how it works. And those in your audience that may be saying, "Oh, this is all baloney," that's why they're there. So I challenge them. How are you doing right now? Not that good? Then why you continue doing the same thing over and over again, right? That's Einstein's definition of being insane. So why don't you try something totally different? When I was in practice, and people were like diabetics, because I was a functional medicine practitioner. I worked with thyroid and autoimmune conditions, sick and sick. And I would have people come in and they'd be like, "I'm a failure. I can't lose weight. I'm sick." And I said, "No, you're very successful. You are a very successful diabetic. You're very successful at gaining weight. Congratulations. Now, this is no longer working for you. So let's do the exact opposite of how you got there, and let's go from there." So people don't realize is as much as you are a failure, you are a success. If your life is falling apart, it's also falling together. It's the same feeling. It's just what side of the coin do you want to look at? So if I'm coming in from outer space, right, and I look at Earth, and on the northern hemisphere, it's all cold and, white, right? Well, I would think it's a cold place. But what's happening in the southern hemisphere? Summer, right? So each season is the opposite. So in your own autumn in your life, when things are falling apart and detaching from you, there's also spring at the same time of growth. You just got to realize that there is growth within you, that you have to detach from things. Things have to break you down in order to rebirth yourself.
Okay. Well, a lot of people, you mentioned earlier about, chemical imbalance. There's a lot of people that have mental issues, a lot of pain from their childhood, things that might have happened when they were children, when they were young, and it's affecting them as adults. In a case like that, with your program, how do you deal with a situation like that, pain from childhood?
Well, I have a total different view on that. With my own stuff, I went through 7 out of 10 most stressful things that could happen to you within a few years of my life that just made some major shift. I lost many. I was financially ruined a few times, went through a horrific divorce. My father had brain cancer. As I was losing my practice, I was on disability. I couldn't practice anymore. Then for 7 years, my mom then later passed away through some horrific condition, and I can continue to go on and on. So I understand that pain. And what I tell people is that I have no regret whatsoever because I looked at all of this as a benefit. So if your story is this happened to me and I don't have this, or I don't this, then that's your story, and that will be always your story. But I always strongly believe that everything that you're here for is the experience. And when you look at why was this happening to me, what is the benefit? One of the greatest questions you can ever ask, and I have this on my my new online course called "You Got This: Retire Your Inner Critic, Transform Your Life." And one of it is what would you have lost if you didn't have that childhood? What would you have lost if you actually had a mother or a father? What would you have lost if your mother was really nice to you? And it's a different thought process, isn't it? With the point of what would you have lost? Maybe you would not be as tenacious. The gentleman that you say is crazy and all that, that would be an interesting experience what happened in his past, that he looked at it and he basically used it and said, it created more strength within me. There are thousands and thousands of stories of people who've had major atrocities have turned into a benefit for themselves, and it's now helping so many other people. So I promise you that if you write down what would I have lost if I didn't have this, and if you find what the positive that you've gained and focus on that, and not what you've lost, but what you've gained, I promise you, your life will change because now you're grateful instead of being hateful.
Well, Dr. Ariel, it's funny that when I say to people, when something bad happens to them, I say it's a blessing, they look at me like I'm crazy.
Me too. When someone loses their job, I congratulate them.
Yeah. We have a video that we want to play for you, but I don't know if you can hear it. But we're going to play this video. Hold on a second, Dr. Arios. Can you hear it?
Here's to the crazy ones.
Yes.
The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Were you able to hear that, Dr. Arios?
Yes.
Wow. What became present for you? You was listening to that was actually Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Talk about a crazy guy, right? Quote unquote, right? Even from Bill Gates to whomever. Gandhi said, be the change. If you want to see the change in the world, you have to change you first. Mm-hmm. You have to realize that you are part of the world. And if you're not willing to change you, then who is going to talk to you and listen to you? But when you actually, people don't like to be vulnerable. And one of the things is that vulnerability creates credibility. And when you're open to be vulnerable and you really see that, you let that go and people can connect to that. And therefore you can just start changing one person at a time. But you must change yourself first. It may sound crazy to you, but it's not.
So here we are in Harlem, New York. We are in what is called a housing projects. And this crazy guy that I told you about earlier, these guys built a studio here in the projects with collaboration of Mr. Carlton Davis, of course. And these guys built a streaming radio studio in the projects. And I think last year, when did it actually officially start, Doug? Here.
Beginning of the year.
Beginning of last year?
Beginning of this year.
Well, we had some shows last year, right?
Right. Beginning of middle of last year.
Yeah, so the middle of last year. So we had I would say, some great things happened. We had some great guests. Some great information came out of here. But what do you see? How can we move this thing forward, Dr. Arios, to really make a huge difference in this community and even the world?
You need to allow people to be part of something and how they can gain from it. There's an old there was an experiment years ago. I don't remember how long ago, but I remember reading about it. And they took 2 apartment buildings in the projects. One, they had just people, they painted it and they just had people moved in. And the other one, they actually had the tenants paint the hallways and everything else. And at the time, what happened was the first one, they destroyed it. There was graffiti, there was all this, the usual aspect of it. But the second one, because the people owned it, they kept it up because it was a part of them. So when you have something like this, and anybody that you bring on to help you, they have to feel a part of it and of that. And that's what I would really suggest you to do, is to see who's passionate about it and what they can do to start helping people and create a community on it and how they can be a part of it as well.
My God. That was brilliant, man. I'd like to get a comment from the engineer on that, because he said something similar to that. I want to get a comment from the engineer on that sentence.
What sentence?
What he just said.
What did he just say, Rick?
You didn't hear him?
I was listening to 2 things at the same time.
He was talking about making the community a part.
Oh, I heard that.
Okay.
Well, we're this is actually what we're doing. We're using teamwork to solve problems that the people tell us about. We're not practicing paternalism and going, look what we've done for you, like most of the bureaucracy around here. And, you know, we're actually working with the people and doing things that they think that they needed. And this station came out of something that they said they needed, that no one tells their stories. There's no place for them to get information from them about them. And as the doc said, once you get the right people together, anything's possible. So this is kind of an affirmation of that.
Yeah. Dr. Arios?
Yeah, you just got to allow the universe to guide you on what you want. And when you're clear of what you want and you're passionate about it, you have to let go of the outcome. You can't force the outcome on the way you think of it. The universe has a different story where it says, well, you want this, but we have this, for you, something better. But if you're so focused and go, no, this has to happen. Why is this happening? You're missing the picture. And that's where you just got to allow and have to trust that you're a co-creator in this, that you're not just doing it on your own.
Well, the doc is right. The slogan that we've always used is that in terms of a universe, you never get what you need until exactly when you need it, and you never get it a moment too soon. And so we've always done by that. I'll say it again. You never get what you need until exactly when you need it. I'm talking about from the universe. And you never get it a moment too soon.
I like that.
I lived that for 30 years.
All right.
It shows up. If you believe, it'll show up.
Now, I want the other quote, Doug, about tune into the radio station. You just might learn something. What's that quote?
Well, that was
Here's to the crazy ones.
Sorry about that. That was part of our slogan when we were up at the other radio station, where we learned that we would tell people if they tune into the station, you just might learn something. And that's a very interesting slogan, but it tells people a whole lot. It doesn't tell people that you will learn something. It tells people that we're looking for ways to bring information to you and to help people learn to be smarter. And it's really hard to say, I don't want to be smarter.
Right, because then that means they have to be accountable.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay.
Doc's pretty smart, man.
Yeah. Dr. Arios, let me have your website.
It's Dr. Agrios, DRAGRIOS.com. That's DRAGRIOS.com. Your audience, as well as yourself, can go on there, and there's a short quiz, 9 questions.
Nice.
You will be able to find your own inborn sabotaging trait and answer those for free.
Nice. Now, and then the book title.
Yeah, Life's One Law. Yeah, they can get that too. They can get a free gift if they get it through my website.
Okay.
And in there is the blueprint. It gives step-by-step instructions with questions. It's kind of a study book to really get you to understand where you're stuck in life, what to do, and how to go to the next step to continue to achieve your success.
All right. I want to thank you. Want to say something, Doug?
No, I just wanted to remind people that they can also see a version of this interview on our YouTube live channel, where, of course, if you're looking at it now, you'll see the very wonderful picture of the doc up there, along with two ugly guys like me and you. But they can go to Grant, our YouTube channel, Live at Grant, and if they miss any of the interview with the doc, they can see it.
You got that, Dr. Arios? Agrios? Now, I got to have you back, man. I had your one sheet. I looked at the one sheet for a while. I was looking at it. And for some reason, I wouldn't pull the trigger. I was like, you know what? Today I got to do it, but I got to have you back. You were definitely even better than I expected.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, you know what? As we said, the universe happened. I just happened to be home and ready to take some Christmas stuff down, and let's do it. I said, you always take the opportunities now, because you may not have them later on.
But here's what a lot of people don't understand about this thing called we're doing a streaming radio station here, right? So people think you come on one time and I'm a big hit. It doesn't work like that. You have to build relationships with whatever community you're aiming for, working toward. They want to hear from you. Not people think they come on one time, that's it. No, it doesn't work that way. If it was magic, yeah, maybe. No. It might get lucky, but for the most part, when you come on again, they say, oh, yeah, I remember him. I've heard him before. We'll have something different to talk about. We'll have different subjects to talk about that we could tap into. It doesn't have to be the same subject, but around the same topic, but different subjects. And I think we can really build something here. That's what it's about.
I'm game. I'm here. If one person in your audience is able to be shifted, then I've done my job.
And don't forget, if you're ever in this area, I know you live in New Jersey, but if I'm doing a workshop, I might give you a call and say, hey, if you're available, come in and say a few words at my workshop.
If I can do it, I'll be there.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Dr. Arios. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. You have a great weekend. And again, thank you so much for the ability to express my discovery. And I look forward to some more conversation on this.
Well, let me get one final thought moving forward for 2020.
If you don't evolve, you dissolve. If I can just give that to people, that's the focus.
I got it.
It's evolving or dissolving, or if you dissolve, you evolve. They both happen at the same time.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Arios. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Have a great one.
All right. Talk to you soon.
The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
There are two types of people in this world when it comes to attitude and thought process. Now, the first set of people